Hello there. Welcome to Blitz Transmissions. I'm Tommy, and in this video, we are kicking off the start of 2025 with a new top 10 most wanted Black Series figures. Now, a couple things I should clarify before we start this list. The first thing I want to clarify is all of the characters on this list are Star Wars characters we have not yet seen in the Black Series at all. So I'm not including like redos or, refreshes on characters that I want in the line. These are all characters that do not currently exist in the Black Series as of the making of this video. I'm also not going to include figures that have been factory leaked or rumored by people like Yakface on Instagram, just because unless they're officially announced by Hasbro, it's still a chance that those figures couldn't make it to the end of the production line, even though obviously with leaks and things the chances are way higher. So, with that in mind, this is going to be a list of characters. Even if some of these are leaked already, I'm still putting them on the list because they haven't been officially announced. And the last thing I want to point out here is that this list is subjective to me and what I want in this line. If you have a problem with my list, I don't care. So kicking it off with our honorable mention, I have to include this guy somehow. It is Arc Commander Blitz from the Clone Wars. Obviously, this guy's the channel mascot. How could I not include him on the list? I didn't want to give him a numbered spot because I'll take any clone trooper that the Black Series makes, but this guy is definitely my top pick for the next clone trooper. This is a figure that you already have all the pieces for. You don't have to give him a removable helmet. Just use the ARC Trooper sculpt that already exists in the Black Series line and put the paint apps on it, and there you go, you get the character, and I'd be really happy with him. Starting off the official top 10, number 10 on this list is going to be Rancor from the 2003 Clone Wars Micro Series. I had the 2003 Clone Wars Volume 1 and 2 on DVD as a kid, and I would watch it over and over and over again. Rancor was one of the coolest characters to me in that second volume. I love the idea of different unique alien species as Jedi, and we already have some existing parts for this. We have a couple different options for Ithorians that already exist in the Black Series, so I think it'd be a great idea, some easy reuse, and I will also preface, let's get some of that new articulation on some of the Jedi and stuff that will be on this list, because the Acolyte figures are amazing as far as the articulation goes, and I would love to get more figures without those pinned double-jointed knees that a lot of the prequel Jedi tend to still have that are released in the Black Series to this day. So let's get some updated articulation, and I think this guy would be an awesome release. Coming in at number 9, we have a character from Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, that being Dexter Jetster. Dexter would definitely be a deluxe figure, probably honestly pushing the $40 or $50 mark, just because of his bulkiness and size and how much unique tooling would go into him. He's a one-time use figure. There's really, I can't think of much at all that you could reuse on this guy to any other characters, but he is awesome. I think he's a great part of the Attack of the Clones movie. As a kid, I always loved Dex's Diner. He's also the hub for the original Lego Star Wars game, so there's that too that kind of gives me nostalgia. I think he'd make great shelf presence and a great unique alien for the display. Keeping in line with these aliens, these bigger aliens, my number 8 pick is going to be Boss Nass from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. With 2024 being the 25th anniversary of Phantom Menace, I think this would be a great guy to add into the collection this year, just to kind of supplement that expansion of the Phantom Menace displays that people can have. I love this character. Again, not a whole lot of accessories you could put with him, a lot of unique tooling that you could never use again, but I think Hasbro would absolutely kill it just because they do so well on the alien species in this line. I would love to see some Boss Nass action. Give me a swappable head maybe, where he's doing his little... I think that would be absolutely awesome. Coming in at number 7, we have some new media. My number 7 is going to be Chimere, the Stranger from The Acolyte. Love or hate The Acolyte, I think most of us can agree that Chimere stole the show and was in some ways the best part of the show. He was awesome. I loved everything about him, from his Cortosis armor to the way his lightsaber splits and there's a hidden Shoto blade in there. there. There's so much to love with this character, and honestly, I think he'd be a great addition to the collection. I even know a lot of people who hated the Acolyte that said they would still buy this figure, so maybe let's see if Hasbro will let us have a chance to put our money where our mouths are with this figure. I think the Chimere would be an awesome addition to the collection. Moving into number 6 here, we have Mother Talzin from the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars is a pretty vast show with a lot of very unique villains throughout, and because of course you're not just going to have General Grievous and Asajj Ventress and Count Dooku get beat up the entire 7 seasons the show runs, so they did a good job of really introducing unique characters. One of my favorite introductions to this series were the Night Sisters, and Mother Talzin being the leader of them, I definitely think deserves some representation in the Black Series. She's a character that interacts very heavily with the likes of Count Dooku, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, Savage, Asajj Ventress. I could go on and on. There's so many characters that she interacts with, and she actually, you know, with Savage Opress and Darth Maul being introduced into the story in the latter seasons of the show, she's a very prominent character, a great supporting role, even going as far as to get cut down by Mace Windu in the 6th season of the show. I think she would be a great addition to the collection, and I think she'd make some great shelf presence on the Clone Wars display. Moving into number 5, we have now hit the top 5 of the list here, the latter half, and we're kicking things off with another new media character, that being Asajj Ventress from Season 3 of The Bad Batch. We do have one Asajj Ventress figure in the line as of now. It is her earlier look from the Clone Wars. However, I do think that her Jedi-ish, we're not going to call her a complete Jedi, but her more mercenary look, bounty hunter look from the latter seasons of the Clone Wars, and then it's again modified in the Bad Batch, looks amazing. She has a yellow lightsaber, so automatically that's going to make her stand out on the shelf, and she's got some bright, vibrant colors. I think with how well the Black Series line did with the recent Asajj Ventress and then the Ahsoka Padawan figure a couple years ago, that they would absolutely crush it with the new version of Asajj Ventress. I think it's very toyetic, the way that the character was designed, and I think she'd look great on any display, not even just a Bad Batch one. Moving into number 4, we have Agent Kallus from Star Wars Rebels. Star Wars Rebels is extremely lacking in figures for how vast the character selection is from the 4 seasons of that show, and I think one of the biggest missing holes in that collection is that there are no villains other than, you know, a Grand Admiral Thrawn that you could take from like a Red Box figure or an archive figure. There's no Rebel-specific villains from the Black Series, so I think that doing Agent Kallus in his ISB look from the first couple seasons would be a great addition. You could give him his bow rifle, you could give him a removable helmet or swappable head. Obviously, I prefer swappable heads, but removable helmet would be acceptable as well. I think this figure would be really cool, and he's another one that you don't have to have a Rebels display to want to get this figure. This guy could be included in an Imperial display, original trilogy, anything of that nature. Even if you have a Battlefront display like I do, I think the ISB agent being a character that's in Battlefront, I think he'd fit in just perfectly. And now we move into my top 3. Now these are going to be the characters that I want most in the Black Series by far. Like these are interchangeable. Everything else in the list has been pretty set on the order in which I would want the characters, whereas these top 3, especially the top 2, can be interchangeable. Number 3 is going to be Jedi Master Saesee Tiin, specifically from the Clone Wars micro series. What's there to say? Saesee Tiin arrives in the 2nd volume of the show. He has a little short sequence of the space battle above Coruscant when the Separatists make their surprise attack, and he has this awesome scene where he has this specific clone armor for him that his robes go over. He has the helmet that's almost medieval, the way like a scout trooper helmet does. It flaps down. It is such a cool design. I think Hasbro would kill it with this. This is another one of those situations where they have a lot of the existing parts to make this figure. It's really just making the specific alien species that Saesee Tiin is, and you could reuse this figure for a prequel era or a Clone Wars era character version of Saesee Tiin. I think he'd be an awesome addition to the collection, and this is one of those that I think people will be just chomping at the bit to go get. Number 2, if you know me, you knew this was coming at the top of the list here. It is Pong Krell from the Clone Wars. Pong Krell is another one of those, like Dexter Jetster and maybe even Boss Nass, where he would probably be closer to a $50 price point. I could even see them pushing $60 with this guy. He's like 8 feet tall, so you're looking at like an 8-inch figure almost. He's gonna have the 2 lightsabers that I would hope in this case that they would actually make not a hinge on the lightsabers like he has in the show, but just give you folded versions and extended versions. However, then again, he does ignite the lightsabers while they're still folded in half, so honestly, I'd be give or take on that. Give me some swappable heads for some different expressions, because Ponkrell is extremely expressive in the Umbara arc of the show, and I think he'd just be such an awesome addition to the collection, just towering over most of your other figures, really giving an imposing shelf presence. He's someone you could throw in the back of your display, and he's still going to make just as much of an impact on your display as he would up front. Ponkrell is someone that I know mostly all Clone Wars fans are in on from the Black Series. I think he'd be a fine addition to anybody's collection. And finally, at number 1, again, just like Ponkrell, if you know me, if you know the channel, you knew this was coming, it is Dirge from the Clone Wars Micro Series. Hasbro, there are so many avenues that you could take doing Dirge. Dirge has so many accessories. He has a custom swoop bike in the 2003 Clone Wars. As far as accessories go, he's got, like, you can make a blast effect for his little darts that he shoots out of his gauntlet. He's got a flamethrower. He's got gauntlet shields. He's got blaster pistols. He's got a mace. He's got a jetpack. I mean, at some point he even has a lance. There are so many accessories you could give to this guy, and that's without even including maybe a swappable arm with the gooey alien, you know, pieces that he has later on in the Battle of Munilist in that series. He is just such a cool character, an amazing bounty hunter, and I really think Hasbro would kill it with this guy. I would like to see them do something a little more accurate to the Dark Horse comics, where he has much more human-looking proportions, more like a guy in a suit, rather than obviously the over-stylized look of the 2003 Clone Wars. But this is one of those that, because there's no real base to go off of with the design, Hasbro could really play with it and make it their own. I know Hasbro has done realistic Dirge figures for the 3 3/4 inch lines. I actually even have for myself, this came out in the 2000s, this Dirge with swoop bike set. Such an awesome set, and if they wanted to just scale this up for Black Series and make it, I don't know, $70-$80, I'd be in on it. Just give me everything that this figure set is, and I'm in on it when it comes to Black Series. Dirge anything. I don't think there's a price that I wouldn't buy Dirge at, because he's my number 1 most wanted Black Series character. And with that, that's going to be all for my top 10 for 2025. If you thought this list was sucky and you thought it was bad, I told you I don't care, but still let me know in the comment section just how bad it was. If you loved this list, let me know. I'd love to hear your top 10 Black Series list, or even just some of the figures that you would really want to see made in the line in 2025 and onward. We are in a great spot for the Black Series line right now, and it makes me really excited as far as character selection goes for what we'll see in the future with 2025 and on. And with that, guys, if you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I have awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. Check out all the links in the description below for all my social media, and if you'd like to see some of my action figure reviews early, definitely check out the Rancor Battalion channel membership. If you'd like to join that, check out the link in the description below. Guys, that's going to be all for this video. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.